We're going live? Hey, we're live. I like that.
We are good, Rock. How are you?
Where's your Diet Coke, Ben Stein?
Right here, sir. God bless you for asking, sir. Right here, sir.
Sweet.
God bless you, sir.
Outstanding.
God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Well, we need to be fully armed and operational.
And here's another one, sir.
Okay, let me know when you're ready to go.
I'm ready, sir.
Anytime.
I'm ready, sir. I am ready, sir.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I'm ready.
You're recording?
Yes. Back to the World According to Ben Stein. You could find us on YouTube at the World According to Ben Stein. You could follow us on Facebook at the World According to Ben Stein. And of course, on Parler at Ben Stein. I want to welcome everybody watching via the live stream. We appreciate you all. And of course, I want to introduce the disciples, as Rock Breath calls us, the other Ben, managing editor of AM Greatness, Ben Boychuk. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Good to see everybody.
Hi,
Happy
Ben.
Sunday.
How are you, sir?
Very well, sir. Very well.
I got a few worried messages after the last show if I could drive up to Big Bear and check on you, but you seem to be doing okay.
I'm feeling
good. Shall we all drive up there tonight?
And not unless we have a snowcat.
Is it really snowing up there?
No, it's beautiful right now.
And
it's
of course,
chilly, but it's beautiful.
Of course, let's welcome Nixon Trivia King, historian, and Mr. Esoteric himself, Louis Fine. And of course, the man of every hour, America's humble servant, entertainer, actor, writer, lover, sometimes sinner, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. Welcome back, sir. And I want to welcome everybody, like I said, but tonight's discussion has to do, of course, with Donald Trump. And we posted, and you posted, sir, about Donald Trump being right almost all the time. Especially he was right about Spygate. He was right about the collusion. He was right about mainstream media. He was right about all of these things that took a few years to prove that he was right about FISA abuse. Now, my biggest worry is we all know he's correct about the fraud in the election, but how long is that going to actually take to be proven? And that's my biggest fear. There's no doubt he'll be proven correct, sir.
But with the greatest possible respect to whom I love like a son, to me, it's already proven. But I question whether the powers that be will ever allow it to be proved. I mean, it has still not been proved that Nixon was hounded from office over a non-existent event, over an event that never happened. And I have a feeling that the real powers in this country will simply never allow the truth to come out about the election fraud. I think that they just will never allow it to come out. And I'm 76, almost 75, almost 76, Kanahura. And with the greatest possible respect, I question whether it will happen in my lifetime. I think, I don't know who's the youngest of the panelists. I'm guessing it's you, Louis, but how old are you, Louis?
I'm actually, I don't
you can't give us an answer. Anyway, I don't think it's going to be proved anytime within the next 10 or 20 years. I don't think it'll be proved at all. The powers that be will sit on forever. I'll give you this example, if I may. Not one person that I am aware of has ever been prosecuted or prosecuted in Russia or any part of the Soviet Union for the mass murders of millions that took place under Stalin and Lenin. Not one person. And I think something like that's going to happen in the U.S. about the election fraud. The cap is screwed on so tight, no bubbles are ever going to escape.
Ben Boychuk. But getting back to that point, we all agree that there were that it's in our minds, it's proven. And I believe it will come out eventually. But obviously we don't know how, but pre the inauguration or pre the Electoral College, I don't know.
I really question whether it'll be. I'm sorry to butt in on you, Ben. I apologize, Ben, but I really question whether it's going to be proved at all. I mean, as I say, we basically, under the Constitution, have three branches of government. And then we have one super government on top of that, which is the media. and they run everything, and they're not. The Constitution doesn't apply to them, and they're not going to ever let it come out.
And I wonder if when it gets right down to it, with shenanigans with vote count software, and I think Lewis is going to maybe have some things to say about the ease with which electronic voting machines can be manipulated. It may just be the case that the fraud is such that it can't be shown because it can't be traced.
That's a real problem. That's a serious problem. I certainly have no idea about how to trace it. I mean, there must be people who do know how to trace it, but why should they talk and get themselves in trouble?
Sure. And then the other thing is, how do you recount potentially tainted ballots, like in Pennsylvania or in Georgia, where you could have had untold levels of fraud. You're separating people from their ballots through the mail. Who knows really where many of those ballots actually originated? How do you recount ballots that are corrupted from the start?
And wasn't Mr. Trump a smart fellow to say from a long time ago, from years ago, that there's going to be real trouble as long as we have these mail-in ballots and some way of separating the voter from the ballot. And that was exactly what happened. I mean, Judah, who's a very, very smart guy about this and everything else, was saying to me moments ago, Trump has proved himself to be a prophet, in his own time in so many ways. And he was so right about this. Once we let this automated voting go into effect, Katie barred the door. The writers of the Constitution are probably spinning in their graves at the ease with which the Constitution can be thwarted.
Take away for a second, by the way, before I get to Lewis, take away Dominion. And let's focus on a few other states like Georgia and Wisconsin, where that was pure ballot dumping in many of those places. That's not that hard to do a recanvass and a recount. I mean, let's be real. Obviously they went into mental institutions, they went into nursing homes, they ballot harvested, they did all of those things. That in itself should be easy enough to prove.
Yeah, but the other parts that Ben Boychuk was just talking about, they're not going to be easy to prove at all. And they're going to be incredibly difficult to prove. I mean, unbelievably difficult to prove. And I think we've seen a very serious blow against the Constitution. And I don't know how we fix it. And there must be some people who do know, but I don't know. And what are we going to do about it? I mean, this election has been a terrible, terrible blow at the Constitution and at the United States of America. A terrible blow.
How does it feel to you, before I get, sorry, Lewis, how does it feel to you, sir, as a person that watched a president in your lifetime being taken down, as Nixon was, and have literally almost zero support from his own party? And where are and that's the most confusing thing to a lot of people is, where are the conservatives? Where are the Republicans just screaming from the top of their lungs, something isn't right? And
that's a good question. That's a very good question. And we as Republicans in the White House, those of us who were working for Mr. Nixon, of course, we were fully committed to Mr. Nixon, to put it mildly. But in Congress, in the bureaucracy, what few Republicans there were in the bureaucracy, out in the state governments, there should have been screaming and yelling and pounding of drums, but there wasn't. And likewise this time too. I mean, where are the Republicans saying this thing just isn't statistically possible? They're trying to put over on us a statistical impossibility. Let's not let this happen. It's not happening. The Republicans are being weak about it. I'm sorry to say this because I am Republican, but the Republicans really need some spine.
Lewis, fine.
So this is one of the instances, in my opinion, where technology needlessly complicates things with regard to vote counting. We've gone from the politics and mathematics of Shirley Jackson to the politics and mathematics of Jesse Jackson. Some people will catch that reference, many will not.
I don't know who Shirley Jackson is. So
Author of The Lottery, where they're counting by rocks. And now it's a short story. And now we have machines. But here's the problem. We have outsourced, in part or whole, depending on where you come from, whether you're in California or Pennsylvania, we have outsourced the tabulation of votes to a private corporation that is not even headquartered in the United States. Dominion is based in Canada. Secondly, their technology is proprietary. They have refused, they will not make it available in the public domain. So you have an issue, a very big one, regarding transparency. Secondly, I would like to know if we as a people don't know and are not privy to the coding. Are the workers at Dominion, have they had to sign NDAs in which if they are to go work for a competitor, say a state somewhere else in the US or abroad, where a politician says, make our electoral system better, make it safer, make it more secure, and that person says, listen, off the record, I can tell you, you have problems. On the record, I can't work for you because I have a non-compete agreement and I have a non-disclosure agreement. So while I recognize you have serious problems with your technology and your voting machines, I can't get involved. And finally, there's so much hypocrisy involved here. I don't know where to begin, except to say 2 years ago, and I sent you and Ben Boychuk the links. 2 years ago, House Democrats had the CEOs of these various voting machine companies testify, one of which was the CEO of Dominion, and none of them could guarantee, and this shouldn't come as a surprise, that their machines are not beyond reproach, except that now Dominion is saying, what? It's impossible to tamper with our machines. I know nothing, well, close to nothing, as close as you can get to knowing nothing about technology. And I know this, if you're connected to the grid, you can be hacked.
You raise a great point. And Ben, what he's referring to isn't just hacking. I mean, the mail-in ballots. I mean, there was so much room in this election for all-out mass fraud.
But Ben Stein's also right.
And now, well, I'm sorry, Ben. Beg your pardon.
I was going to say you're right about one. You're right about many things, but Ben Stein, you're right about this story being told. It won't be told unless at some point there's one incredibly intrepid and dogged, almost I would say fringe-like figure of a Robert Caro stature who's pursuing a story to all ends and finds the judge from Johnson's Senate race who says, well, and I'm paraphrasing, they're all dead now, so I can show you. And he lifts, where he removes from under his bed the ballots he had held for 50 years that threw the election to quote unquote landslide Lyndon. And then and only then was it conclusively established that Johnson stole a Senate race. But that here's a person that's one man going after a story.
Let Ben finish up his response to that.
I don't know whether you want Ben Boychuk or Ben Stein.
Ben Stein, I'm sorry.
Ben Stein.
Ben Stein is saying, I'm terrified of the fact that this election was stolen. I'm terrified of the fact that we basically don't know anything about the man who stole the election. And basically, Mr. Biden was hiding in the cellar all during the campaign. We don't know what his positions are on almost any important issue. We don't really know who he is. He's changed his position on everything. I mean, he was at one point basically a segregationist. Now he's the black man's best friend. We have taken a total unknown and given him the highest office in the land through machinery that we don't understand. So basically, we are now a ship operating without a compass. And to me, that is just terrifying from A to Z. There's just no end to the scariness of it. And I will tell you, both my wifey and I, and all our friends, including Judah, who's a very, very, very close friend, feel as if we're being sucked underwater into a whirlpool somewhere by forces beyond our control. And it is deathly discouraging. It's deathly discouraging that the media powerhouses say we're crazy for being scared about this. We're crazy for having a president whom no one knows anything about. We're crazy for there having been an election in which the fraud was actually clear cut, and pointing out that the fraud was clear cut. We're the crazy ones. The people who stole the election are the sane ones, and maybe that's right. Maybe the thieves are the sane ones, and we the victims are the crazy ones.
There was a great, God, not Woody Allen, but Dudley Moore movie called Crazy People, where the people in the asylum were became the normal ones. And if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. We thank everybody that's watching us tonight. Ben Boychuk, can you please tell people where to find us?
Well, if you're joining us for the first time on YouTube, thank you very, very much. Our following has been growing tremendously on Parler, and we're very grateful to have you here. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that bell in the upper corner of your screen. Like us on Facebook if you're still on Facebook at The World According to Ben Stein. And most importantly, if you haven't done so already, follow us on Parler, but also tell your friends, because you can get an audio version of this podcast anywhere podcasts can be found, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all of them. We're there, and we appreciate you listening.
And you can also read Ben Stein at the American Spectator, spectator.org.
Yeah, we hope that. No, I think it's. I'm not sure.
No, he's right.
Spectator.org.
And I want to welcome everybody back to The World According to Ben Stein. And tonight so here's my next question for all of you guys, because Bren, you brought up something, Republican voters, I don't think the House realizes, and I know we picked up seats, but I don't think they realize how many Trumpicans are being disenfranchised right now by their lack of fighting back. And that also is one of my biggest fears right now, is in that coming the Georgia election, which is a huge Senate run, which is another statistical anomaly. How Purdue, two of them, Ben Boychuk, how that dump came in, that he was only up by 49.84%. David Perdue. I'm scared that we're going to lose a generation of future Trumpicans or Republicans, Ben.
I'm scared we're going to lose. I mean, what I keep wondering is, why does anyone assume it's ever going to get fixed? Once these people have tasted power and seen how easy it is to steal power, why should they ever give it back? I mean, Lenin, I think it was Lenin, or maybe it was Trotsky, who said power was lying there in the streets, and we just went along and picked it up. I think power was lying there in the computer, in the bowels of the computer, in the bowels of the internet, and they just went along and picked it up. When is it ever going to get fixed? Who knows if it's going to get fixed? I mean, I think one of our little groups said a few times ago, if you want to look at the future of mankind, it's a boot stomping on a human face forever. And something like that is going to happen here. Why do we think it's going to get fixed? If we can't fix it now, if we can't find judges who've got the balls to say there's something wrong here, let's have a recount, let's look into this thoroughly. What are we going to do? The next time will be absolutely impossible to even look.
Ben Boychuk, I see you nodding. And
oh, that could very well be. One thing maybe that we need is a movement or an effort to grassroots movement or an effort to insist on paper ballots, to abolish electronic voting machines. That's certainly possible. That actually happened here in California. There wasn't essentially there were lawsuits, and there were questions about the reliability of electronic voting machines, and so they went away. They only used them, I think, in special cases for essentially people who have special needs or handicapped folks who for whatever reason can't deal with a paper ballot. But for the most part, we went from electronic voting in California back to paper ballots in California, in no small part because there was no confidence from the state level on down that these machines could be trusted. And so maybe this is an example where actually California had a decent idea for once. And
We often have good ideas here in California. I, your humble servant, spent many years of my life being an expert witness in very complex securities law cases. I taught about securities law at Pepperdine, a fine school, and I wrote a great deal about it for Barron's, a fine magazine. And what the basic problem was, quis custodiet custodies. I think I've mentioned that here before. Who guards the guards? We assume that in the final analysis, the Supreme Court is the guard, and even above them is the best. They are the ultimate guards. But what if they can't be trusted? What if the press has been subverted too? What if the press is the main engine of subversion? Then who is there to guard us? Where are the guards then? They're all gone. If the guards are all gone, anything goes. And there we have a really terrifying scenario.
Lewis,
the press certainly cannot be trusted. Lewis.
well, we've lost our gatekeepers. You know, we had this discussion on the thread before that that Lewis and Ben Boychuk and myself were on. It's like I would trust an eighth grade. I would trust the eighth grade Gazette, you know, more than I would CNN or most.
Or the New York Times. The New York Times has
Any of
become
them.
unbelievable. They're becoming unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Lewis.
This reminds me, paper ballots versus voting machines, electronic voting machines, reminds me of the story about how a lawyer can become successful in a small town. It's all contingent on there being a second
Another
lawyer. And then you could be very successful. Because if there's nothing wrong with paper ballots, I'm asserting there really isn't anything wrong with paper ballots. The question then becomes, why do I need your voting machine? And as a voter, separate from someone in government, if I'm as a voter, as a citizen, I want to know, have any of these companies contributed to the campaigns of any people that have decision-making authority regarding the installation and use of these machines? And I come back to this earlier point. If we're going to literally outsource our democracy to a foreign-based corporation whose source code is proprietary and thus they refuse to make it public domain, then you have to have faith in a machine for which the owners have said on the record to House Democrats as of 2 years ago, maybe again more recently, it is not 100% secure. And I know with regard to any machine, unless you're talking about, and I said this to Judah and Ben via text, unless it's a quantum computer for which cryptography is beyond our imagination,
Well, Lewis,
it is hack-proof. You can't do it.
But help me out with something here. My brain is turning to Farina as we speak. What's the name of the English group in the 18th century who wanted to destroy all the machines and so forth because they were
the Luddites.
The
The Luddites. Okay, thank you. We need some kind of new Luddite. Thank you. Some kind of new Luddite revolution to say we want to go back to paper ballots or ballots that can be trusted. Obviously, it's not working the way it's being done now. It's not working, and I am at least as alarmed by the fact that the media is saying to us, "You're crazy if you don't trust the system as it is," and the system as it is clearly extremely flawed. And this election is extremely flawed, and you're crazy. You're crazy. You, Ben Stein, and Judah, Ben, Lewis, you're all crazy for thinking that there's anything wrong here. You're all crazy. You're all crazy. We're coming to get you, and we're going to lock you up, and probably then we're going to shoot you.
Go ahead, other Ben.
Eric Amy makes a very good point in the comments in the Zoom chat. He says paper ballots are only good when you have a Democrat and a Republican counting them. Paper ballots aren't good if you have only Democrats counting them, like they did in Philadelphia, Atlanta, Clark County, Milwaukee, and Detroit.
Right, and all of a sudden they only follow social distancing there.
Very good point.
Lewis, you forgot to bring up that Dominion refused to go to court. Right, they were supposed
Well, no, they it's not. No, they
testify.
No, there was going to be an event for which, and they had no obligation to be there. And I'm not casting aspersions on them. What I with their decision in Pennsylvania not to talk to or meet with Republicans from the state legislature. My problem is with the fact that there is no transparency, and at least with paper ballots, there is something tangible.
Yes.
If Democrats miscount, if Republicans miscount, and this is not a new phenomenon. Vanity Fair did a story in 2006 about George W. Bush's purported unjust victory in Ohio. And what's interesting about that story, now the company responsible for the voting machines is no longer in business, Diebold. And I don't know if I'm under the impression, please correct me in the comments if I am wrong, that they were bought by Dominion, but they're no longer in business. And the writer saw not the same, but very similar numbers at play that were that gave him reason for concern, and brought it up with someone who's a technophile. The technophile explained, look, this does not require a conspiracy, first of all. If it did, you wouldn't see it happen. The machines themselves are very easy to manipulate, or at least they were with regard to this story. And when you see discrepancies like that, what the article calls Saddam Hussein-like voting margins, it is cause for concern. This isn't the first time it's happened. And either the machines in general are not very good, and we should make a switch back to paper ballots, or how about this? Can we at least have some kind of C-SPAN equivalent where this stuff is televised? So if you live in Los Angeles County, you turn to Channel 7 and you can see the counting in real time.
That's an amazing point. That is a great point, Louis. Ben, I see you. Ben Stein, I see you.
This whole thing is just breaking my heart, because we're here we are, four guys, and we're on the internet talking about it. On the front page of the big newspapers, it's saying everything's fine, and you guys are crazy. You guys are lunatics. So, I mean, who is the great American public going to believe? We four guys in a room somewhere, or are the big newspapers and the MSM saying that everything's fine, and we're crazy for questioning.
But I want to get back to something that I think is sometimes the biggest point that everybody misses in all this. The government makes our lives a pain in the ass to pretty much to get a driver's license, with our taxes, with every single thing. Yet somehow with voting, that's where that's where Democrats want leniency. Not when the IRS is coming after you, not to have to get my driver's license renewed. Now you have to have that second driver's license if you want to fly. You can't just have that. You have to have like that new extra code on your at least in California, on your driver's license if you want to fly.
That's national. That
is national, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's mind-boggling where they say this is so imperative that you have ID, that you go through all these different things. I mean, my God, it's harder to get my cable installed, than it is to vote, in a sense. So I just think that's sometimes the point people miss is we really do need to have stricter laws with voting.
I think we have a reverse. Oh, go ahead.
Laws with counting, of course, voting and counting.
I think we have a reverse version of Occam's razor at work here, where the most complicated solution is the best one, according to politicians. Why machines rather than paper? Because there's not a lot of profit in paper. And yet, show somebody a machine they can't even understand. You remove the outer shell, and you show them the circuit board with all these different soldered pieces and wires, and it blows their mind. And it must be better, because look how complicated that is. It's like walking into the cockpit of the Concorde. You take one look at it and you say, my God, it's got to be safe, because look at it. Look how more advanced this is than the Wright brothers. And even never mind that the Concorde blew up or crashed more than once, but
that was mostly safe.
Yeah, mostly.
Sure.
Mostly peaceful. So why no paper? Why nothing simple about, let's have a bipartisan group? Because my friend who said, with regard to what Ray Bradbury once said about Los Angeles and mass transit, he said the best solution, he wrote an LA Times op-ed about this, is a monorail. And yes, I know The Simpsons and Disney, and he brings up the Disney point. Never mind that the monorail is very safe. My friend had a very pithy response, which was true. He said, "You know why there's no monorail?" He said, "There's no graft. They're very easy to construct. A subway takes forever. There are delays. There are missed deliveries. It always goes over
It's like
budget."
Caltrans. And on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to World According to Ben Stein. I want to thank everybody in the YouTube feed. I'm reading your comments. So that's why sometimes if you see me laughing, people are saying certain things. It's because I'm reading your comments. And on that note, Ben Boychuk, can you please tell people where they could find us?
I'm not on benzos tonight or any other night.
Uh-huh.
Just so you YouTube commenters know and understand that. But I'm very glad that you're watching, and I hope you're all subscribing to the channel, and I hope you're sharing news of the channel with your pals and your social media contacts. So thank you for that. Thank you for following us on YouTube at The World According to Ben Stein. Please follow us on Facebook. You can like us at The World According to Ben Stein. You can subscribe to the audio version of this podcast on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and any other fine podcast hosting service. And above all, please follow us on Parler at Ben Stein.
I want to welcome everybody back to The World According to Ben Stein. If you saw me laughing, it was because somebody posted in the YouTube chat, ask Homer Simpson about monorails, which was quite funny.
They're very safe. They're very safe.
And I just wanted to tell people, because we constantly get this thing about Rumble. We will be uploading videos. You can't stream via Zoom to Rumble, just so people understand that feature is not available. That's why we're not directly on Rumble. But I want to welcome everybody back to The World According to Ben Stein. We take your suggestions, and we want to be up on every possible platform. But I want to get back to the main core of Donald Trump being correct. And he predicted that this COVID thing, coincidentally, or just would coincide with the election. And then all of a sudden, everybody in America was getting a mail-in ballot, and magically they couldn't go vote. Things were closing. We were starting lockdowns again. The uptake. I mean, all these things, Ben Stein, aren't coincidental. They can't just be.
The whole thing is extremely depressing. It could be coincidental. It just seems like very unlikely it's coincidental. And I want to go back to what we were talking about the very first time we came on after the election, which is, it's not a coincidence when 134,000 ballots come in the middle of the night, the day after the election day, and they're 100% for one candidate in one state that was split fairly evenly during the 2016 election. That cannot happen statistically. There's just too many things that can't happen statistically that are happening, and that I have the terrible feeling are about to happen in Georgia again. This is a scary thing. Where is the democracy going to come from if it's not going to come from the voters? If it turns out that somehow, as some smart person on this show today said, the voter has been divorced from the Constitution now, we are in really incredibly serious trouble. And I don't know where it ends. I mean, once we have subjugated America to the rule of the people who are running the country through the voting machines, where does it end? I mean, then there is no end to it. Then there is no end to it. And we're in a very terrifying place.
Ben Boychuk.
Well, so a couple things there. So this election was all about ensuring that Trump was never going to be reelected.
Right.
They didn't see him coming in 2016. They dismissed him. They regarded him with contempt. They didn't understand, or they thought his popularity among a certain class of voters was based purely on racism, and they didn't understand his appeal. So they didn't see him really coming. They didn't expect him to win. They've had 4 years to do everything within their power, and their power is massive. They've had 4 years to either get him out of office or ensure that he wouldn't be reelected. And so it doesn't surprise me in the least that the existing Republican Party establishment has not been going out of its way to speak up for the man, because in a lot of ways, he makes their jobs much, much more difficult.
Well, I have a very close friend who is a high-ranking Republican in Washington, who is, I think, the definition of Republican in name only, in the sense that he is a Republican because he gets jobs from being a Republican. He's a very, 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 very smart fellow and a very great guy. But he says now he's happy about the election if it turns out that Biden has won, because now it'll be the Democrats who will be embarrassed, and the Democrats who are being attacked all the time. Instead of saying, look, let's back up and take it from the other direction and say, now this gives us 4 years to fight back and really go head to head with the Democrats and with the liberals over Trump. Instead, he's saying, no, now we're going to go on the attack against the Democrats, but we're not going to get our hands dirty defending somebody as dirty as Donald Trump, who actually made a living making money and building buildings. That's a dirty thing to do. Making your money by having a father who's a giant super scale bootlegger, that's fine. But actually building buildings, that's dirty.
And they labor under the misapprehension that Trump has not, created a movement. They don't understand then, and I believe this is 100% correct. I don't think the Republicans in the Senate and then to a lesser extent in the House, I don't think they understand the phenomenon that has occurred over these past 4 years. That there are people in this country, there are some 73 million Americans voted for Donald Trump this time, and some of them, a lot of them, are not traditional Republican voters. But they're workers, they're small business owners, and they're people who want to have a life for themselves and for their kids, and they don't see the Democrats being able to deliver anything other than identity politics and grievance and misery. People really need to, for the people who are watching this, who live outside of the great state that we live in, California.
Yay, California. I love California.
I love California, and I hate California, because California has shown what you can do. You can take a beautiful, great big state with a wonderful economy and massive natural resources, and you can put it in the hands of one party, and you can drive the middle class out. You can create massive wealth inequality. You can have we have levels of poverty in this state that would make Mississippi blush.
Are you talking about Venezuela or California?
I'm talking about California. And so, but no, the thing is though, man, I mean, we had a great thing going here, and there's a lot of ruin in a state, and
I know that quote. I know that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ruin left in California. But damn it, I didn't want to leave. I want to leave, but I didn't want to leave. I want to go someplace where I can have a life, and it's becoming more and more difficult in a place like this. If America wants to be California, then vote for 2 Democrats in Georgia, then vote for AOC in the squad, then get behind the Kamala Harris administration, because Biden's not going to be in there very long. If you want California for America, then God help us.
And it Ben,
this is not supposed to be a horror movie. I with all due respect, I still love California. It's great living here, but I agree politically it has been subverted in a gigantic way, and I don't know how we ever get it back. But we did have a Republican governor here not that long ago. How long ago was Arnold Schwarzenegger governor?
A rhino, though. I wouldn't
Republican.
I wouldn't call him a Republican.
Ben, I've got a very simple question for you.
It better be really simple.
Where does your son live?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
I know that.
Do you watch the show?
I watched the show, but this is a new episode of the show, and so we have to reestablish the baseline every single time. Your son does not live in California.
Correct.
I have 2 kids.
Yes.
I have an 18-year-old boy and I have a 12-year-old girl. There is no way right now they're going to be able to afford to live in this state under the current circumstances.
Can we
Barring-
doctor this video so it's used against you? Just given the
I don't
tone
care.
and what you said.
Look, I'm telling you, the California dream. My parents moved to California in the 1950s. California in the 50s and 60s was a paradise. You could buy a house. You could, I mean, you know, electricity was cheap. The roads were good. Jobs were plentiful. The economy was outstanding. And then something happened. A lot of things happened. And we've taken this golden state and we have made it impossible for my kids and lots of kids to have a life here. And so to tie this back into the whole Trump phenomenon, the reason why he got more votes in California this time, and the reason why he got more votes across the country this time, is that people can see and they realize that, you know, right, you know, under progressive guidance, there's no hope other than massive government handouts and misery and a lower standard of living.
Well, actually,
so-
my son wants to move back to California.
Well, God bless him if he can manage it.
No, but Ben, let me ask you a quick question, Ben Stein, because, you know, you and I both share, and so does Ben Boychik. What's heartbreaking for all of us is how much we love California.
Love California.
But when all of this is said and done, and if you look at in a certain neighborhood that you might live next to in Lewis, which is Beverly Hills, it's unsustainable. I mean, the stores there, you know, I mean, the real estate market there of all these stores, other than restaurants, how could they sustain? I mean, the exorbitant prices, the exorbitant rents, the exorbitant all of these things. I don't see people running to Beverly Hills anymore after all's said and done. I mean, that's just in my humble opinion.
Well, I can tell you that I'm told prices here are still going up.
No,
I think the commercial real estate market's
I'm not
finished.
I'm referring to commercial real estate, not personal real estate.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not an expert in that. And at all. Maybe I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what to say to you when you say these things, Ben Boychuk, because to me, California still seems like paradise. We can swim outside all year long. We can we can look up and collect a suntan anytime we want. People are relatively friendly. I mean, I think our politicians are a mess, but I love living in California. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. My wife wouldn't even consider living anywhere else. And she's a saint.
I hope my mother isn't watching this because
My wife's a saint.
Because he's trying to beg his mother to get out of California.
Because I can't leave. I can't leave without her. The point is, you know, for the kind of middle class life that you could have in California in the 1960s and 70s, that's gone. That is gone. I mean,
well, I don't know about that. Because
unless you want to buy. I mean, you can buy a house in Victorville.
Yeah, this is how your day starts. You wake up at 4:30 a.m. for a 3-hour commute and you also weigh about 300 pounds. So you have type 2 diabetes, you're a chain smoker, and your job, your marriage, in the crappy public schools your kids go to have caused you to have suicidal tendencies.
Okay, well, you're doing here what I always warn Judah about. You're giving me anecdotes instead of data.
No, Ben, what we're saying is
a lot of people who live here and seem to be quite happy here.
But Ben, what we're saying is, even if you make $200,000 or $300,000 a year in California and you're doing really well, nowhere in the vicinity of where we are right now, you and I sitting and Lewis may be sitting, within a 30-mile radius could we buy a house.
Lewis, you are sitting in my house, and I don't even know that you're in my house.
That's how big your house is.
That's how big your house is. That's how bad it's gotten California.
You can't get a meal in this state for less than $150,000 a year. You know, the thing is, and I'm exaggerating slightly, but I will give you one data point.
Somebody suggested, Ben, you go back on benzos.
Well, that's very nice. Let me give you one data point, Ben Stein. 85% of in-migration to the gem state, the great state of Idaho, over the past 5 years.
I love Idaho. We have homes in Idaho too.
Have come, that 85% of in-migration in the past 5 years has come from California.
Good. So what's I don't understand what's the point.
People want to get the hell out.
They can't afford to live here.
And if you
I
just
will tell you what, houses in my neighborhood are sold the day they're put on the market. So obviously,
that's because supply and demand in your specific neighborhood is extremely high.
How many public school teachers live next to you?
as many as I want.
Right, none. So there you have it.
And if you just tuned in, we've totally gone off course. You are listening to The World According to Ben Stein.
Let's get back on course.
Let's get back on course.
We're going to get America back to being the America under the Constitution.
I don't think we will.
Well, I'm not sure we will either. I'm not sure we'll, but I think this is our big chance. And I hope nobody has forgotten about the pray-in for next Sunday, where I'm coming back from the desert on Saturday night for the pray-in, and I hope that all of you are going to join me for the pray-in.
Let's reset the show quickly so people understand what we're talking about. Since I've been appointed by Ben is appointed
by
Benjamin Jeremy Stein, since I'm great at organization.
Yes.
To do this. If you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. I want to thank everybody on the YouTube channel. You really do add and contribute a lot in your chats. It's very uplifting. Ben Boychuk, can you please tell people where they can find us?
Certainly. I deny utterly, by the way, that we've gotten off course. I think this has been a grand conversation. Thank you for watching, especially on YouTube Live. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Hit that bell, subscribe to the channel. You'll get updates. You'll know when new videos are up. And we certainly want you to share those videos on social media. Speaking of social media, please follow us on Facebook at The World According to Ben Stein. And above all, follow us on Parler at Ben Stein. And if I may inject a point of personal privilege, check out American Greatness at www.amgreatness.com.
And of course, check out the American Spectator at spectator.org.
And use Google Street View to find Ben Stein in Levittown, California.
If you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein, and Ben brought up before the break about this sit-in that we're going to be doing. But basically, so people understand, praying. We're going to be praying in outside of a church. But basically, what happened is California, as of tonight, by the way, they've taken out all outside dining, at least in our immediate vicinity.
Wait a minute, Judah. I have not heard that. So there's no longer outside dining?
Yes, that's been shut down too. So
I cannot go to one of my favorite restaurants just a couple of minutes from here and eat outside on the sidewalk?
Correct. Los Angeles County Health Department, there's a Los Angeles Times story. Outdoor dining is done. And of course, we don't have indoor dining.
Not for the homeless. Not for the homeless.
Good point.
I am in a very, very, very much a funk over this. I'm terribly, terribly upset. This is upsetting.
Okay, so again,
this is what we now know.
But let's get back to it. This is what, so we decided that we are not allowed to eat outside. We're not allowed to eat inside. We have to be in by 10. We can't, this isn't even a nanny. This is a prison. And this is Escape from LA at this point. And so Ben has appointed me to put together, with Ben Boychuk's help, of course, and American Greatness. We are going, and Eric said bye-bye to Twitter, will be joining us, so rock breath, that we are going to next Sunday night at 9:30 do a curfew break where Ben Stein will be in a big chair. We will be holding candles. We will be flashing our phones.
In a big chair. I can stand for a few minutes.
No, we're going to be there for more than a few minutes because curfew starts.
I need a big chair. Okay.
We'll bring you a chair, but Ben Boychuk.
What are you, Pharaoh?
I noticed Ben Boychuk, you wanted to jump in. So that's the plan, guys.
Okay, I like this idea a lot, and I think we're going to be praying in Hebrew and in English, both in Hebrew and in English. So everybody come and pray in Hebrew and in English, please. I beg you.
And we'll be giving the address.
We will give you the exact location this week. We will have a lawyer with us. And Ben Boychuk, I noticed you wanted to jump in, so please.
I wanted to point something out, and this might be heartening to Ben Stein, and anyone who lives in Los Angeles County. The good news is that all of the surrounding counties are telling Governor Newsom to pound sand when it comes to enforcing this curfew. So the sheriffs of San Bernardino County, Riverside County, I'm not sure about Imperial, Orange County, Ventura County, Fresno County, Sacramento County, several counties up north have all said, we can't enforce this thing. Are you out of your mind? And as we were talking the other night, the damn virus doesn't observe, nighttime hours.
I've been talking about this a lot. I've been talking about this a really, really lot.
Yeah,
really.
it doesn't. And by the way, somebody just informed me Pasadena has an 8 p.m. curfew.
No, that's impossible.
Yeah, that's called every day.
Dude, I want to see.
Have you seen the demographics in Pasadena?
I want you to put up on the screen here for that. I just can't believe that. That's impossible.
A good time in Pasadena is licking the envelopes for the checks you've endorsed from your dividends.
But basically, Ben, the whole point is that I mean, where does Newsom go from here? I know Ben Boychuk. I was trying to read about that because, like we said at the last show, everybody keeps inviting us to Louisiana or all the other states. You're a stone's throw away from being put under the same restrictions that we are. This isn't just going to be limited to just California. When other governors.
Look, Ben Boychuk, you're a smart guy. Louis, you're a smart guy. Judah, you're a super smart guy. How does this stop the virus? How does a curfew stop the virus? Suppose I'm out up till 2 a.m. instead of till midnight or 11 or 10 or 8. How does this stop the virus? My wife and I are in our room watching TV anyway. How does this stop the virus?
It doesn't.
It makes us live in absolute abject fear. I mean, the only people that are considered, one of the few people that are considered essential workers in California are people in Hollywood. And I'm not joking.
How about nurses? How about doctors and nurses?
Of course. But my point being is that they've labeled it.
In my room. I have a nurse right there with me. He's going to come with me out to our house in Malibu tonight.
Yes, he's allowed to go anywhere with you. But as far as well, I don't know about that because I don't know if you're allowed to leave your house after 10. But as far as in California, people, essential workers are considered people in show business, which is, I'm in show business. Enough to.
Right.
Ben Boychuk, go for it.
Well, this is like a big Stanley Milgram experiment. That our rulers are trying to see just how willing we are to do what we're told, and so if there's any good news in all of this, it's that a lot of county governments are just saying we're not doing this. Look, I was out last night at my normal Saturday night restaurant thing, and nobody up here is adhering to this curfew.
Well, I was out buying a car last night, and everybody was driving all around, and nobody seemed to be upset about anything. I can't afford the car, by the way, so I'm counting on contributions from Louis Fine to help me pay for it.
I have a story about the car, but we'll talk about it another time. Here's why I am very pessimistic, and to quote Tripper from Meatballs, it just doesn't matter. Let's jump ahead to 2023. The new Congress has convened. Republicans have overwhelming majorities in the House and the Senate. And Democrats attempt to introduce or want to get relief for people who have been wholly eviscerated from the virus. The people who were, when it started, 55 to 75, who did nothing wrong, have been bankrupted. And now we're going to get Republicans, the same Republicans with their Adam Smith ties, who have policy briefing papers from the Heritage Foundation or the Lincoln Log crystallized land of Goldbergian bad ideas, Rube Goldberg-like ideas, who say no relief. No relief. It's bad economics. It's a bad precedent. these Republicans don't care. They want power. And if they can ride Democratic malfeasance to increase majorities, great. Will it benefit the people who voted for Donald Trump, who traditionally never voted either for a Republican or certainly were not considered Trump voters? What's the point? The point is this: the people who live and die by the flat tax, free economics, the Steve Forbes of this type, who could care less about the people who have been eviscerated, who celebrate the entrepreneur, except those that they've never met in the flesh, are going to be voting against relief for these very same people that have been eviscerated by Democrats. And it'll happen no later than 2023 when Republicans get a majority in the House or expand the majority in the Senate. They're going to be the people screaming, this is bad economics. This is what Democrats do. This is free lunch. So my point is, these Republicans are not your friends. They're not your friends.
Maybe, because I maintain, one of the problems with Trump, if I may say, is that he hasn't created the movement he's created has not translated into broader political terms.
The party, it hasn't. They haven't.
Right. It hasn't. I mean, you've got guys like Tom Cotton
and Devin Nunes and
Nunes.
Do you think Grover Norquist, a person I don't know?
Hold on,
I don't know personally.
Louis, let Ben finish for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
No. Actually, no. I want him to make his point because
here's a guy
probably know.
Who's made his career out of reducing, in his words, the federal government to the size of a bathtub shower.
Something you can drown in a bathtub.
Right. Never mind that he got his money. He got a COVID check. Do you think this guy, based on he did?
No, Ben never got a COVID check.
Do you think Grover Norquist, based on his record, is going to support any kind of relief for people, small business owners, and those who have been wiped out 2 years from now?
No, but my suggestion to you is that it may not matter. And so
I have the best.
Part of our job, and certainly what we're, and again, what we're doing at American Greatness, what we're trying to do anyway, is we're in the middle of a realignment right now. We're in the middle of a political realignment right now. And I think by and large, establishment Republicans don't understand what is happening. They don't know what time it is 4 years later. They just don't know. And so I don't know that it matters what in the hell Grover Norquist thinks. I think these things are changing. And I think that a lot of folks like, the Bulwark guys and the Dispatch.
What is that? What?
He's playing with a bobby
exactly.
pin. He's playing with a bobby pin.
What's the Bulwark? I never heard of that.
It's an irrelevant publication that emerged out of the Weekly Standard that thinks it's important but isn't.
Okay, to wrap it up, by the way, because we're running out of time, basically, Ben Stein, what Ben Boychuk, what Louis, what everybody's talking about is how come Republicans or these people haven't realized, you constantly talk about trends. How come they haven't realized the Trump trend? Are they that blind?
Trump is aesthetically unpleasing.
No. But do they really think that the Paul Ryans or whoever was there before or any of those people, do they really think that people are going to come back and vote for their kind of republicanism?
Ben answered this show 3 shows ago by quoting his own father.
I asked Ben Stein though.
What's the question again?
Do these
Republicans will eventually figure out something? I don't know what they'll figure out. But I think the quote that our friend, my neighbor, Mr. Fine, is referring to is, for most Republican congressmen are not fit to be dog catchers. And the second is that's the quote you're referring
to.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's unfortunately true. Let's take one step at a time. Let's have the pray-in. Let's encourage everyone we know who's a lawyer to sue, and then let's see where we go from there.
And if you just tuned in, we are closing up. We are doing a wrap-up of the world according to Ben Stein.
And I am Ben Stein, a very juicy ball of flesh.
And if people were wondering what Ben was drinking on the air, what medicine is, it's Kaopectate. It does the body.
Kaopectate is incredibly good.
It does the body well. And I want to tell everybody where they could find this. They could find this on YouTube at The World According to Ben Stein. They could find this on Facebook at The World According to Ben Stein. And of course, they can find this on Parler at Ben Stein. We want to thank you humbly for listening tonight, but also you can find Louis Fine at L Fine on Parler. He doesn't really post there. He prefers the phone via text messages. And of course, Ben Boychuk from AM Greatness. You could find them at BBOYCHUK.
Oh my God, did you have a stroke?
At BBoychuk3. And of course, please check out American Greatness at www.amgreatness.com.
And I'm going down to my house in the desert tomorrow morning, and my wife and I and some good friends of ours are going down to our house in the desert. And if anybody wants to come and have anyone, and if you guys in the panel want to come down and have some hamburgers on my grill, even though it's outdoors, you're welcome.
Ben, the person that's listening in Pasadena is very offended, and
I love Pasadena. I didn't say a word against Pasadena.
No, that he didn't get the invite for burgers. Anyways, we'd like to thank everybody for listening to The World According to Ben Stein. You know where to find us. Please tell your friends, tell everybody, join the club. It's a fun club.
An old girlfriend of mine used to live in Pasadena. She's an unbelievably beautiful girl. Unbelievably beautiful.
Very big Jewish population there.
and on that note, have a great night, people. We will talk to you later.
Good night, everybody. That was fun.